So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna go over here to my tool panels. Like I said, setup's pretty similar to uh, Photoshop. A little bit different though, because the vector versus raster. I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna select my ellipse tool. Remember, for most of these, if there's an arrow, a little triangle in the corner, that means there's more tools underneath of it. I'm gonna choose my ellipse tool. So for this purpose, I'm gonna make a oval. And right away you can see that as blue. If you notice here, this is my fill color. And then this is my stroke color. So that's a little bit different than in Photoshop, because in Photoshop it's foreground and background color. So to change it, I can just double click, same kind of thing as before, pick the color you want, okay? As I mentioned, the difference is raster versus vector, math versus pixels. So because this is a vector image, what I can do, I have my select tool, which is the black arrow. I can move it around, okay? With this one, I can also change the size, all right? If you remember, if you hold down Shift, it keeps the same proportions. Make it a little bit bigger. And then my direct select is this white arrow. So the cool thing about Illustrator is that I can go in and I can directly select different points, and then it pulls up anchor arms. So what that means is I can change the shape of things just by moving those arms around. All right, so I'm going to make, I don't know, let's make him kind of a square-ish headed monster thing. I don't really know what I'm going to make yet, so I'm just kind of guessing right now. Just playing it. Let's bring this one straight up. Maybe make these a little wider. All right, that's good enough for right now. So that is going to be the main like head and body for this guy. The next could be a girl, I don't know. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a nose. I'm going to make a pretty simple nose. I'm going to make a circle, and then I'm going to make another circle. It's a little bit smaller. And then I'm going to just make a copy of that circle. So I'm going to go to my select tool. And if you can see, when I go over my select tool, it tells me what the shortcut is. So selection tool is V, and my direct select is A. So from now on, I'm just going to do that. Okay, so I'm going to go to my select tool by clicking V. I'm going to click on that little circle, and I want it to be exactly the same. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down Alt. You can see it turns into two arrows, and then I can actually just make a copy of it. All right. So I have that, and I want this whole thing is going to be my nose. So there's a couple things I can do. I can either group them together by going up to File. Object, Group. And now when I touch one and move it around, they stay together. Okay. The other thing I can do, because I'm happy with it, I'm not going to change the shape of that. I'm pretty happy with that. I can go up to my Pathfinder, my Windows. I'm going to pull up Pathfinder, and a new little panel pops up. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to merge all three of these shapes together, or unite them by clicking on this. So you can see now all three, it's just one shape now, which is kind of nice. But if I bring it up, you can see it doesn't, it's still a little, it blends in exactly with it. So I'm going to go over to my color guide, and I'm going to click on red. The cool thing about color guide is that if you're not exactly sure, what color selections you want to do, you can go to your color guide. If it's not there, just go up to Window, Color Guide, and you can find it that way. Sorry, I should have said that first. Is that it will help you figure out what colors that go well with it. So this is called a triad. So it's 3 colors. It creates a triangle on the color wheel. It's just an easy, simple way to, come up with colors that work pretty well. So I'm going to pull this up to up here. I'm going to start with that as my nose. I'm actually going to give him a couple little nostrils too. So I'm going to make a couple little more circles. See what that looks like. And I'm going to turn it black. So I'm just going to click on the black. Maybe throw that in there. How's that look? That might be a little too big. Let's zoom in. That's not too bad. I can rotate it if I want to. Make it look a little more interesting. Good enough. All right. Once again, I want to have the exact same nostril on the other side. So this time I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I'm going to hold down Alt, and I'm going to, oop, I lied. I'm going to hold down Control and click, and it'll give me a kind of a menu. So I'm going to go to Transform, Reflect. So a new little menu pops up. You can, and I have it on preview. Okay, so if I turn preview on, it's going to show me what it's going to look like. I am just going to make a copy of it right here instead of hitting. If I just hit OK, it flips it. But if I hit copy, it'll literally make a copy. And then I can just drag that copy over, set it in place, and now they're the same. Okay, so I'm pretty cool with that. I'm fine with that. So I'm going to take these 3 shapes and I'm going to group them by hitting Command G or going up to Object, Group. The reason why I'm grouping them rather than uniting them, if I unite them, it will turn them into one shape, and that one shape will all be the same color. But I want these to be remain black. Cool. So I have my nose now, right? I grouped them together, so it's all stays the same. Oh, I'm getting a phone call. We're gonna decline that phone call. We don't need to talk to them right now. I'm making a video. Cool. So just like in Photoshop, we have layers. You don't have to always do this, but it does help you later down the road when you're trying to, keep things organized. So that is my nose layer. I'm going to make a new layer. Now I'm going to start making a eyeball. So I'm going to go in here. Okay, I'm going to pull this, see if I can pull this color back up. So I'm going to go to my triad. See, can I bring this whole triad up here? I'm going to go to Save Colors as Swatches. So that way I can just easily come back to them and pick them later. So what I did was I double clicked on my nose to get my triad back. I went to Save, I clicked on, there's like a little hamburger looking thing in the far right corner of that panel. Save Colors as Swatches, and now it's saved in its own little folder up there. So that way it's super easy to get back to. All right, so for this eye, I'm going to change this to, I don't know, instead of white, I'm going to go a little kind of like a light blue. That should work. And then I'm going to click on it. I'm going to hold down Alt, make a copy of that. I'm going to make another copy. I'm going to shrink it down a little bit smaller. And this is going to be my iris. For my iris, I'm going to turn it that yellow, right? So I'm going to keep using those same colors. I'm going to take this one, I'm going to shrink this one down a little bit. And I'm going to turn this into my pupil. So I'm going to go with black. Throw that in there. If you want, you can change the shape of that. Maybe you can turn it circle if you want. Depending on the shape, it kind of changes the, the feeling or how it feels for the eyeball. I'm fine with that. I might make this one a little bit smaller, narrower. Cool. So I'm going to make a couple more circles. And these are going to be the reflections in the eyeball. So I'm going to turn that one white. Drag that in. And, you know, instead of white maybe, let's turn it to that same blue. So I'm going to actually click on my eyedropper. I'm just going to click on that blue, right? And so then that kind of blends in a little bit better. So I'm going to make that one a little bigger. Yeah, maybe I'm happy with that. All right, I'm going to take that, make a copy of it by holding on Alt or Option, make it a little bit smaller. And this one I'm going to bring into there. So I'm pretty happy with that. Still can't decide if I want it to be blue or white, but I'm going to leave it like that for right now. I'm going to hit Command G for group. I'm going to throw that in right on top. I can see it's a little too high, so I'm going to bring my nose down, bring my eyeball down. See, now I want it to be white. So I'm going to take both of those. I'm going to turn those white, and we'll see how that looks. I think that's better for right now. Yeah, we'll leave it like that for right now. We're going to leave that for right now. And then I'm going to label this eye. Okay. And then we'll move on to the mouth and some other parts in the next video.